Thank you. When I first started college, I remember noticing this person walking around with a big backpack on, the straps floating in the air. It was my first month on campus. And I approached him and asked what that was all about. And he told me he was a mountaineer. I was super curious about it. And he told me about the student club on campus, again, the mountaineering club. And I started learning and climbing. Years later, when I decided to pursue my PhD, even before I became an academic, I made a promise to myself that I was not going to become a boring professor. So I went to Everest to conduct my field research, PhD research on risk consumption and risk marketing. And over the years, I happened to also climb all around the world, climb 7 summits, the highest mountains on each geographic continent. This was nothing but a smooth process for me. I am one of the most ordinary people you can meet. I'm not a sponsored athlete. I'm not a professional climber. I have a full-time job and daily responsibilities like all of you here. So when I managed to finish this project, people in my circle said, of course, now, wonderful, now you're done, so you can take it easy. But then there was that feeling and curiosity and this undeniable pull that I always felt towards big mountains, wild and open spaces. So I wasn't done. Then I decided, okay, now I'm going to climb K2. Well, K2 is no ordinary mountain, as you may know. It is the second highest mountain in the world, but it's considered to be one of the deadliest, one of the most dangerous, technical, steep, high-altitude climbing out there. So it is no joke. If they pronounce the death rate on Everest to be around 10%, that number is 25% for K2. That is, if 4 of us here attempt to climb this mountain, very likely one of us is not going to come down. So I was overwhelmed by my own decision. But then I decided, okay, I'm going to focus on, right now, the one thing I can control. And that was my training. So I approached my coaches from the time of Everest. We prepared a meticulous plan, training plan, for me to get ready, feel ready for this incredible goal ahead of me. So this is a screenshot of like 1 week's worth of training. And just to give you an idea, like any normal weekend would be putting on a 30 pounds weight vest or a backpack and just doing simple hill repeats, 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, coming down, eating food, sleeping. The next morning, doing the same thing again for 6 hours, 7 hours. So it was intense to a point where I wasn't even able to listen to music, let alone follow a podcast or immerse myself in an audible book while doing all of these things. And then I knew about this research that said during these acute, painful experiences, physical experiences, our prefrontal cortex actually disassociates itself from any complex cognitive processing. So I was normal, so everything was normal. So I continued this intense training for 10 months. I was only training, working, training, working. Then I made my way to northern Pakistan, to Baltistan region, where the Karakoram Mountains are. I met with my team, our Sherpa support team, and local logistics team. And we slowly made our way towards K2 base camp, crossing over these huge glaciers, walking in these beautiful valleys, and immersing ourselves with the wonderful culture. We made our way to K2 base camp. We started to settle to our new setup, and we were getting ready to go up and down on the mountain to intermediary camps to acclimatize, to get used to the high altitude. And there was this chatter among our Sherpa team. And as you know, Sherpas, they are the backbone of all the high altitude climbing expeditions in the world. So they have huge experience on K2 as well. They've climbed it before multiple times. So they were saying that this particular season, which was last summer, felt a bit more drier, meaning that there were more rockfall, more rocks coming down from the mountain. So we said, okay, let's see what happens. Let's wait around. And there were a few snowstorms also happened during that waiting period. But snow didn't stick and actually ended up in avalanches, killing one of the high altitude porters from another team. His name was Iftihar. We were very sad. We were very confused. We were looking at all the weather forecasts from multiple different sources, trying to find a weather window to make our attempt. But it didn't look like it was going to happen. It was getting close to the end of July, and historically, most K2 summits happen the last week of July. And we were there, right there at the end of July. Most teams at that point, one by one, left the base camp. They had other time commitments, other responsibilities that they needed to get back to, or they simply didn't believe that it was going to happen this season. So we were among the very few legitimate teams that decided to stay, but again, we didn't know. Complete uncertainty. Weather forecasts kept changing. It was first week in August. Finally, we saw a few days of good weather, potential good weather, in the second week of August. We decided, okay, we're going for it. If it is horrible, we're going to calm down. So we made our peace with that. So we decided, we packed, decided to climb up to first advanced base camp, to Camp 1, Camp 2, 3, and towards the summit. So this is a photo from Camp 2. It is a steep mountain, the technical mixed climbing at high altitude, super serious, super dangerous at every rope length. Actually, I thought I knew some things about this mountain before I went there, but with my every step, I realized I didn't know nothing about it. It was consistently challenging all the way to the summit, but we managed to go up slowly, step by step, without any major incidents. So this is getting close to the infamous bottleneck area on K2. This is the traverse and that we were making, turning around the corner to this spot right here, the last section before the summit ridge. So it is steep, it was steep. But we made it. We made it safe and sound. That's Pasang, my dear Sherpa buddy, climbing partner. Together we made it. We looked around, took our mandatory summit photos. That's how the summit looks like. We were feeling miserable. All those smiles were for Instagram. And then we started going down. And as you may heard of, as you may know, most accidents on big mountains happen on the descent. Because you're exhausted, completely out of it, and it's so hard to stay focused. But we had to. Now we had to go down those steep slopes one by one. Going up took us 5 days, including the advanced base camp. 5 days, and now we had at least 2 days ahead of us. We were going to spend at least one night going down. So we made it to Camp 3 from here. And then the next day, we started going down again, rappelling on the fixed lines that our Sherpa support put on the mountain for us to climb. There were ice chunks falling, occasional rocks falling, but we managed. With occasional hits, we were okay. But then, coming close to Camp 1, it was nighttime, it was 1 a.m. We were coming down in the dark with our headlamps, rappelling with heavy backpacks, almost broken bodies, completely in pain. And then Pasang received a radio call, and his face changed. And he looked at me and said, Didi, Didi means sister in Sherpa language, that we need to stop right here and spend the night. And he told me that a rock hit somebody 2 hours below us, and that person died, and her name was Jin. And there were a few other climbers around us who got the same radio call. We were quietly sobbing and then getting ready to spend the night on the slope to continue with the first lights in the morning. And things were not looking good. We were constantly rappelling down, rope by rope, very slow, the heavy backpack, pulling back. I felt like my back was gonna break. My shoulders were falling apart. And rocks were falling from all directions. It wouldn't be wrong to say they were raining on us. And we would always try to look up and warn it. The last millisecond to see where it's coming at, and then make a move to the left, to the right, tuck ourselves, maybe make a jump to dodge them. Still, it hit some of our bodies, other climbers around us. Some of it are like my shoulder, leg. One rock ripped a hole in Pasang's backpack. My teammate's helmet got cracked open. So it was really, really dangerous. I was so afraid. It was just sheer terror. And I remember seeing this rock coming from the right-hand side, and I was thinking, okay, it's not gonna hit me. But then it hit another rock, split into 100 pieces like bullets, and it hit those bullet-like small rocks, hit everyone around. And then at that moment, I remember just looking up and just realizing there was nothing to control anymore. There was nothing to do. And in that moment, all the noise stopped. All that fear was gone. And I felt this very powerful connection to my primal self, trying to stay alive, becoming one with that mountain. And all I could do was take one breath with it on the ropes, take one step down, take another breath, take another step down, even slower than this. We made it safely back to base camp. We were lucky. We were lucky. I was carrying that connection in me. It was very powerful. Nothing like I ever experienced before. But it wasn't over. Now we had to get out of the mountain. And the valley we came up from, because of the climate change and anthropogenic global warming, the reason why the mountain was so dry last summer was because the whole region had a very dry winter and very dry spring. And with the glacial outbursts, floods, mudslides caused many of the villages to be evacuated. Bridges were taken off by raging rivers. Mudslides blocked major passes. So we had to actually walk out, go over another pass, high pass, to another valley to get out of the mountain. It was okay, we were safe. So we continued like we came down from the mountain, very slowly, walked through these beautiful valleys, carrying that connection in me all the way back to civilization. Now, all of what you heard may come across as something like against the popular discourse about how you know, we shouldn't push things in life so much. How, you know, if it is meant to be, it would happen. If we can only send the universe our intention, we can only hope that it would deliver. And I see so much value in that. I do. But life is full of uncertainty, like mountains. Control, whether it's real or whether it's illusion of control, it's very limited. And it is because of all of that, I strongly believe that we owe it to ourselves to push, to discover our capacities, to see what we are capable of, to change the wiring of our brains, to find new connections, to establish new connections with who we are and the world that's outside of us, that is bigger than all of us. Thank you.